King Alcohol has many forms by which he catches man. He is a beast of many horns, and ever thus has been.
For there's rum,
and gin,
and beer,
and wine, and brandy of logwood hue,
and hawk,
and port,
and flip combined
to make a man look blue.
He says be merry,
For his good sherry,
and Tom and Jerry, champagne and perry,
and spirits of every hue. Oh, are not these a fiendish crew, as ever a mortal knew? Oh, are not these a fiendish crew, as ever a mortal knew?
All right, how we doing tonight, guys?
Doing well.
Doing good, doing great.
We are at Flat12 Bierwerks.
Beautiful place, isn't it?
It is. It's
Love
awesome.
this place.
Smells amazing back here.
We're sitting in the back room.
Oh, sorry about that. That was me.
We're just sitting here amongst all the brewing equipment, and I see a lot of barrel aging going on. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, we got our, those are our sour barrels.
Ooh.
So that's our sour funk stuff going on right there. Just got to keep it away from everything.
Oh, yeah.
This man's specialty right there.
Yes, I love me some sours.
Got a bunch of bread, bunch of lactopedia stuff going on there.
Nice.
And then we got, I don't know, 20 tons of grain behind us. So we got a lot of malt.
It's a lot of grain.
It's a lot of grain.
Looks like a good
It'll last us a good while.
a day.
Consider we buy ours in like 7 pounds at a time.
That'd get us through about 5 brews.
Yeah, one bag.
Yeah, it goes quick. Once you get going, it goes quick. I'll tell you.
So who do we have with us?
Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Go for it.
I mean,
Sure. Well, my name is Sean Manahan. I'm the Director of Brewery Operations here at Flat12, and sitting to my left is Easy.
My name's Easy, just one of the brewers here. Been here almost 4 years. Loving every minute of it.
Nice.
Beer's good. The people are good.
And you learned right from Sean, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember probably 2 years ago or so on a cold February morning. Made me grain in.
We have an Instagram to prove it.
Yes, we do.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah? So what brought you into brewing? Or the love of beer, both? You know?
Yeah. See, my folks made their own beer and wine probably when I graduated high school, somewhere around there. And then I went to school at Ball State, so I had the hurrah. Started learning about beer that way, and that's when Joel Savage was still there. So then Joel opened up his place, got more and more into beer, and my dad started making more and more beer, so I would just hang out with him. Just kind of spiraled up where I am now. I lived in Massachusetts for a little bit and hung out at Cape Cod Beer and Mayflower Brewing. Bugged them and learned some of the process and drank a lot of beer. So
now, you didn't waste any time. You didn't go from like Natty Light for a few years, and it's nice now talking to people who haven't been brought up into that nasty beer.
Sure.
You know
I
what
remember, my first beer I ever had was a J.W. Dundee Honey Brown.
Wow.
I was 5.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
We moved to Germany when I was 3,
Ah.
and stayed there for a while. And my first beer was probably 5, 6. I got raised on, even when we came back, I got raised on German beers and all that. My parents said if they couldn't leave their beer on the table without being supervised, because I just go grab it and just drink it.
Sure. I remember being younger. Well, I guess sort of late high school, college, making my buddies buy like Bud Select.
Right.
And then one time I told a friend, it's like, hey, just grab whatever. And he got me Flying Dog, Old Scratch Amber, Brooklyn Double Chocolate. And I was like, what is this beer thing? It was pretty cool. I just remember that first moment was just like, whoa, what's going on here? This is so different. So then I bought a 6-pack of Sam Adams Cherry Wheat. And I actually just tried some of that a couple weeks ago when my folks were in town. And it still tastes like cherry birthday cake. So,
Is it good or bad?
it was good at the time.
Okay.
It was your birthday.
Before your palate matures.
Yeah, as you grew up.
Yes.
So Sean, how about you? Where did you start? How did you're a young guy? I mean, you're already the head guy here at Flat12. I mean, how did that process come so fast?
Well, I actually graduated Purdue with a pre-law degree. My dad is essentially Atticus Finch in Delphi, Indiana, right?
Nice.
He accepts chickens and pork loins and whatever for legal help.
Beer.
A little bit of beer here and there. And criminal defense was something that I wanted to do. And so worked in the public defender's office at Tippecanoe County. And it wasn't what I thought it would be. It was more of a business than this romantic notion of what Atticus Finch does. Mm-hmm. And I turned 21 at the time, and we had these meetings where all of the defenders would meet together to discuss cases, and we'd all bring a 6-pack. And so I brought, again, just freshly 21, had never drunk a lick of beer before. No, it's not. I was a Keystone guy. Grew up a Keystone guy. Dad was Coors Light, so I had to go a little bit cheaper. I had to be the younger brother, Keystone. But I went out and I found a 6-pack of Alpha King, and it was, you hear a lot, the labels draw you in kind of thing, and I was blown away that there was more than Bud Miller Coors. Found the Alpha King. Said, all right, I want to try this. And so the entire meeting, all I could do was just like look at my glass, take a sip, have my mind blown, and just look at it. And from there, I couldn't care less about the whole legal process, couldn't care less about anything else. I just want to know why this beer was different than the others that I've had before. So read all the books I could possibly get my hands on, enrolled in all these chemistry classes and classes I had no right to take. And luckily, People's Brewing Company opened in 2009, and I graduated from Purdue in December of 2010. So I started working there, and I just did everything I could to say, hey, let me work in the back, all 10 bar. And he's like, okay, yeah, you 10 bar for a while, and maybe we'll move you back. So I moved back, and he's like, all right, how about you just sell kegs? You ship kegs, distribute kegs, and then maybe we'll let you do some more. So I did it all, and there in 2010, I ended up brewing for him. Really small outfit up there. I still talk with Chris all the time. Really small group of guys. So I had an opportunity to do a lot.
Right.
And that experience is kind of carried over in a handful of years. I was there for 3 years. I was head brewer for 3 years. Out of that time, then I got a call from Flat12 and say, hey, why don't you come down to Indy? But in that time, I picked up so much. And so then coming down here and having an opportunity to work with Rob Caputo and Josh Hambright before they both kind of left. Now working, at the time working and still working with Easy and Sean Lewis, who's our head brewer. It became obvious that these guys could brew without me. And so now I'm a master of Excel.
Oh, yeah. I've seen his work. It's good.
My Excel is just undeniable. But it's great. I get to work with, we have 8 guys that work in the back with us, and so I get to work with all of them individually and then kind of all of them together.
Still great. Still seems like a small operation back here to us.
Yeah.
Because we just do everything. I started off cleaning kegs, and that's what everyone starts off doing, and we can all share the same roles and responsibilities, and it's a very tight-knit group. It's good.
The whole industry seems to be kind of like it's an apprenticeship.
Well,
but it seems to be it's your journeyman. It's
yes.
You're just
There's
learning.
definitely a
You're always
pathway.
bringing your way up. It's you don't just go to school and then come out and
they
somebody
say
makes you a brewer.
Breweries brew brewers.
Right.
And so when I first started brewing with Chris in 2010, there were 35 breweries in the state. I knew it was something I wanted to do, had a handwritten letter out to every brewery in operation at the time. I got 2 responses. One was from Lafayette Brewing Company and said, no, we don't do that. And then the other one was from Clay Robinson at Sun King, and he said, yeah, we could work that out, but you just got to drive from Lafayette to Indy all the time. I said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I ended up doing that for a year after, working here. We look, what is that, 7 years ago, 6 years ago? There are 35 breweries in Indianapolis. So that whole breweries, brew brewers, you kind of go through this apprenticeship process, you learn, and then a lot of times people take what they've learned and then go on to their next thing. So you look at Josh Hambright, you look at Andrew Kastner, a very minimal amount of people of who's gone on to open up their own thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's a trade. That's what I was trying to get you. It's more like a trade, like you see in unions or whatever. Bricklayers, woodworkers. You do that apprenticeship and that journeyman kind of thing, and then bring your way up. And there's really not any other way around that.
No.
I mean, you can study all the books you want, and we're learning, but we're learning by absorbing from all the people we talk
exactly.
to. We're not.
Yeah.
I didn't just read. We're not just reading books and going whole hog into something. You build it up from.
I don't know who you are because I pretty much read every book out there to get us started.
But you know what I mean. Yes, but
I still don't think would have been.
You didn't do it all. You didn't read all the books and then open up and then go rent a giant warehouse space and buy gigantic.
I read all the books and started very small.
It's still, but you still have to do that growing. Nobody just goes out and just buys all this without having done some kind of apprenticeship or worked their way through the industry to get some knowledge.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, one of the things, we're out talking to all these breweries, we're out talking to you guys and everything. We wanted to be able to have an intelligent conversation with you and not go, oh, yeah, that makes sense, and have no frickin' clue what you're talking about.
Your beer's good.
Your beer's good. Can I have another, please?
What's wrong with that?
Where's my free beer?
Well, we appreciate that,
There's
too.
a point to it, yeah.
Right. So, and now...
We'll catch on pretty quickly. We dumb it down very quickly.
That's helpful. But I think now we've kind of all got the bug, and this is a lot of fun. This is really cool, and kind of putting different things together and realizing that your different boil times and when you add different things, how it changes the flavor and everything. It's just there's so much behind it, and it's way more interesting. I think when we first got started, and we were going to throw some shit in a big pot and brew some beer. You know, I mean that's what we looked at when we first started, and then as we've kind of evolved and realizing, wow, there's a lot that really goes into this, and how it changes your flavors. It's a really cool process. So.
You should see me watching the thermostat on the damn side of it. They make me do that because I have OCD, and
That's why it's important to drink a beer. You gotta step away for a minute and just trust it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
then I'm like 5 degrees too high. I'm like, "Argh!"
Yeah, we take our own home brewing pretty seriously. We do now. Like they said, we start off with a extract kit. First time we wanted to make sure we were using all the equipment correctly, so we did an extract kit. Came out good. We didn't wait. We immediately jumped into a full grain by the next brew.
Oh, yeah.
And we do every other week. So yeah, we're like, no, let's just do full grain. If we're gonna do it, let's do the shit right.
Trial by fire.
Yeah.
That's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really.
So that's like in front of you guys here in a little while. You'll get the sample. The green cap is our first full grain brew, and that would be our second full grain brew. Which this one is a milk chocolate oatmeal coffee stout.
Well,
That's a lot of
damn.
words.
And then
No holds barred on the first one.
Bowl and a spoon.
and then the second one is an orange saison.
Orange saison. All right.
So
I'm about done. Looks like he's done.
So that sounds like it's about time then.
What we
Go ahead.
Are we going to go with that one first?
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Or,
Okay.
we'll do the
I'll tell
saison
you what,
first.
We need to talk about
Well,
this.
no,
one.
I'll
This
tell you
one's
what.
delicious.
Yeah, let's
While
talk
we're
about theirs
pouring,
first.
let's talk about yours first. Yeah. What did we all order here?
Oh, the dark corner.
That was the dark corner.
That
yes.
beautiful beer.
It is
Because
good.
all got the dark corner. Now, we all come from different areas. Again, I started in first year engineering at Purdue and kind of went through the first 6 weeks and said it was not worth it, and immediately got out of it. Easy
Oh, yeah.
was a word
Magazine journalism.
journalism. He's a wordsmith.
Yeah.
And so anytime you're going to read a description of a Flat 12 beer, there's very romantic descriptions you're going to read online or in these other things. It's all easy.
If you read our headers, that's all Brendan for our
So-
shows.
I'm doing
Writes
air
up
quotes
the
right now.
headers.
Romantic beer fueled. That's what-
Yeah,
I do that too. I do the radio air quotes for some reason.
I mean, I love beer, so I guess it works out.
So I'll let Ease
Oh.
describe the dark corner.
Sure. Dark corner is nice.
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 It's our.
That was the saison popping.
Oh yeah.
Just throwing that out
Oh,
there.
I hope so.
it was.
Dark Corner is our Pinko Russian Imperial Stout, aged in a bourbon barrel that previously held New Day Meadery's Breakfast Magpie.
It's a bourbon barrel aged.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
So that
I can taste that.
I didn't get
that
well,
mead from New Day is it blackberry espresso?
Yeah.
Mead?
Yeah.
And
That-
it
that
is.
Magpie. Yeah.
It's a dangerous combination, man. It's so good. 'Cause I love the Imperial version of the Magpie, which they release in November on Black Friday. I think this year's it was like 13%. I found myself just drinking a whole bottle one night, and I was just like, hold on a sec.
Don't remember the don't remember the night.
Yeah. I think I might have cracked open a party mode that night, too. So we had a double IPA aged in a triple smoke whiskey barrel called Party Mode because it was 9%. Normally, after you have one, it sort of turns into a party mode. So
I like it.
that and a Imperial Magpie did me in the next day.
Tell you what, this Dark Corner is delicious.
I love the subtleness of
Yeah.
of the barrel in
Well,
there.
that's what I meant. It's
not overpowering
Most
at
of
all.
the barrel ones, the bourbon or the whiskey ones, they hurt. They kind of
Sure.
hurt on the back end. And
It's got a little bit of that burn that it's there, but it's not
Yeah.
overpowering.
Yeah.
It's just got that
Smooth.
nice. Yeah, it's
It's
got that
balanced.
nice burn finish to it, but it's a good
Yeah.
burning finish.
I like this.
It's definitely a warming beer. I think it was 10
Yeah.
to 5.
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe upwards
So-
of that after it sits in the barrel for a little bit. But, what you get a lot of times with barrels, you get this, caramel, you get the vanilla, but having been used after this mead, you get this sweetness. And
Yeah.
one thing you get across the board in any beers, let's say you're looking to infuse flavors into a beer. Well, oftentimes will attribute brewing to different methods of art, right? So what you need to have a medium that is willing to accept and able to accept these other flavors. So we could put our Hinchtown Hammer Down Pills, it's a good beer on its own. We could put that in this barrel. It's not going to hold up the way that this does. It doesn't have the body to absorb these flavors. It doesn't have the medium to then accept and then reflect these flavors. That's why you see wheat beers, because we use the wheat. Wheat lends a nice mouthfeel, so you get it with a richer body, so you can absorb flavors. So we get these fruit wheats. Not a lot of fruit pilsners out there. You know? But when you get to something like a Russian Imperial Stout or Oatmeal Stout, I'm anxious to try the second one. First one's good. We'll get to that. But when you get to something like Dark Corner, in having our Pinko Russian Imperial Stout, you do get a very big body. You get a very open medium to then infuse these flavors. And we didn't do anything to this. We just put the beer into the barrel. And what New Day was able to infuse into that barrel, we get the old breathing in and out of that wood, getting that flavor from the blackberry.
Yeah,
It turned out really
blackberry.
nice.
I pull some raisins out of there, and that kind of a little bit of that woodsy from that. Yeah, it's a beautiful beer.
You know, I don't want
being
to detract from kind of where we were
sure.
going with the Saison and whatnot, but we have a relationship with Eli Lilly.
Okay.
And we did this Brew 140 batch for them to celebrate their 140 years. And we made this really light, wheat-based beer and had cherries in it. Again, that wheat base is going to take on some of that character. But they were in because they wanted to continue that program through the rest of the year. Now, this would be tricky. One thing that came up was where all of our backgrounds come from. And so my background being engineering, I like to be very sound-based in what makes sense from an engineering standpoint. Does this work with this? It's materials kind of outfit. But again, kind of going back to Easy's background in journalism and in writing, one thing that I kind of told them was he puts things together the same way that he would put together these descriptions. And so Easy runs our 12-gallon system, our pilot system. So he's kind of in charge of wrangling the guys in and make sure recipes are ready to go and the process is sound. But you can see from doing this for a long time, you can see how he builds recipes. It's the same way he builds sentences. You can find the comma, if you will, in there. You can find this kind of pause on where he's putting things together. And I think your reference to cooking, really speaks to any homebrewers listening, and you guys in general, is everybody finds their own way to build a recipe, and you draw from experiences that you have in the past. Now, I'm not an artist. I'm also not an engineer. But those are my kind of reference points on how we build things. And I think ultimately, if you put malt, hops, water, and yeast together, it's going to come out well if it's done properly. Now, how you put those things together and how you develop these things is all just a matter of how you prefer to do it. So with cooking or sentence structure,
that artistic flourish, on how you do the ingredients versus the mechanics of actually putting it together. Yeah,
and that's what differs from cooking is cooking. I do a lot of cooking, but I've never followed recipes. Don't mean anything to me. I like to pull things together.
I'm a recipe guy because I am an engineer.
But with beer, you have to. There's a science to it. So you can be the best cook in the world, and you can have a great recipe, but if you don't do things right, there is a system and there is things you have to follow when you're brewing.
It's a marriage of both.
Yeah,
you need that precision to. Sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
To repeat, that's for damn sure.
We've said it's actually more like baking than cooking because baking is one of those things you have to follow the recipe, or your cookies are going to come out flat, hard, and taste like shit. Whereas cooking, you do have a little bit of leeway. With brewing, if you're going to brew, you got to get that brewing process down. So you need that baking to be correct the first time.
At least
then you can add a little bit of this here and there to enhance the flavor.
Yeah, the mechanics of the brew.
To me, it's more like baking than cooking. Because cooking, I'm with Brendan. I throw whatever the hell I want in when I'm cooking to make it.
I know neither, so
I'll
go with that one. Yeah, baking.
But you are an Excel guy, like you said, so you're kind of a formula guy.
I'm Excel like you would not believe.
See, brother, we live in the same world, so I get it.
Well, a big step too with the whole brewing process, following recipes. Once you find your little, I'm not sure if the word was niche, but like from the cooking, the artist, the writing, designing standpoint. Once you kind of figure out your formula, that's when you can start doing little embellishes here and there, and you learn from your mistakes. And I think that's what's so fun about brewing and growing up home brewing, as expensive as it may have been. You start learning things so quickly and taking notes and trying this, trying that, and that's to be able to come here every day and do that is very rewarding for me, and to be able to talk about it. Guys like you,
we still homebrew,
and
on the clock, right? So it's not homebrew. Now it's like work,
very large
pilot
batches.
Brewing, right? But we still do that every day, and it is something. Even now, this is my system that I brought in here, and everybody's kind of trained up on it. And you get somebody like Easy who's had this experience and growing up in homebrewing and learning from his dad, I assume.
Yeah.
And then learning on the big system. Now, taking everything he's learned on the big system and putting it into the small system, it is incredible the discussions that just pop up. We drink a lot of beers together. we spend a lot of time together, and we're always doing kind of the same thing. But it is so great to me at the end of the day where we can sit together and we can drink these pilot brews together and kind of rehash on how we did it. Well, we tweaked this a little bit. Oh, okay. Well, I can taste. Now, the tasting thing is bullshit. Nobody can taste. Oh, yeah, I can taste your 2-degree difference in the mash. Nobody can do that. But it's fun to discuss. But this continuous evolution of brewing, even, I've been brewing now for 7 years professionally. Easy's just hit the ground running, and he's every single day brewing on a commercial level at a very high volume. And still, after 2 years, we can sit down and we can go, oh, you be damned, man. Hey, guess what happened? This is what I did. And those conversations are the best. And that's something I miss from learning how to homebrew, because those things happen so often. You have 10 things to talk about every day.
Yeah, every time we brew.
Yeah, every time.
Well, every time.
It'll never stop.
It's an industry that invites camaraderie. Whereas if you're in like the executive, and like I work in technology, and I have to be very proper on my conference calls all day long. We don't get together at the end of the day and all just shoot the shit, because you have to be proper. You can't step out of line, or someone might use it against you down the line or something like that.
Sounds off.
Nobody goes out and shares a beer. It is. Luckily, I work from home now. I'm not necessarily, but those kinds of industries, though, they've moved away from that camaraderie. Used to have office parties and Christmas parties and open bars, and they don't do any of that anymore because it's just dangerous for them from a legal standpoint. And I understand that. This, though, you have a beer at the end of the day. It's not
people commute them out more now than they did years ago too. So people used to work right where pretty close to where they live, so they work and drank, and now people commute so much more that you can't hang out with the people you work with so much anymore like you could back, even 30 years ago. So
but it's still
much
even
different.
it invites that camaraderie, even between other brewers, or especially in Indiana. We've talked about that before. There's just a lot of camaraderie between brewers. You're tap takeover for this place. Nobody's out gunning for each other really. There's not a lot of animosity between everybody.
And even on our small system, again, kind of with easy running it, what we've done batches. Listen, go for it.
Oh gosh, we've done a lot of collabs with other breweries. We did one back in December with Summit City up in Fort Wayne. Did a nice, it's like a barbecue smoked porter almost. Just did one with. So you tapped it back in April. Did it with Danny Boy.
Remember hearing about that?
Got one with Union that's carving up right now. That was a cool Belgian Imperial Stout. And I feel like it's just fun to kind of, it's like, we used to have available.
We got the Wabash.
Yeah, the Wabash actually taps tomorrow. We did the Crash Pit Belgian Pale. Did that with Wabash Brewing. I think we brewed that up sometime last month. And we showed up at their place on a Sunday morning, bright and early, after a beer fest.
So you were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed?
Yeah, something like that. But they had beer, so that helped.
It was noon. It was bright early in the morning.
Yeah. 7 in the morning. But they had that little grill going. They had sausage and eggs and hash browns. And next thing you know, beer started cracking open and started making beer. And it's to be able to do something like that is really cool. And because then you kind of talk shop, see how other breweries do things, and kind of throw ideas back and forth.
Definitely one thing we all noticed doing this now for a while is going to brewers that we didn't realize. We started going in the back rooms like this and doing shows, and almost every time there's brewers there from somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, he's from they just stopped by and he's hanging out and helping us out, and it's a really great camaraderie, like I said, and it is in this system, in the brewery, especially in Indianapolis. I think I've never seen elsewhere. Maybe I haven't noticed, but we didn't notice it either until then. It's like, wow, there's always different brewers in these places. Sean, I brought Brad Singleton from BriarScratch up, and brought him in here, and he loved the place. And Sean showed him around and said, hey, and he's doing it on a much smaller base, and we were there. Incredible beers, but obviously a much smaller operation. But Sean's like, hey, you ever need anything, man, give me a call. It's just cool to see that. Like, you obviously don't see that in other industries. So very, very cool.
No shooting. Just the last couple of weeks, I think we needed something, so we hit up our buddies. Towyard Boys borrowed a Carvestone from us. I think Central State borrowed our fork extensions. It's like
it's non-stop. It's every day. There's somebody.
So we have,
can I borrow your car?
A running tab going.
Yeah, we keep the tab running. It's a tab of goodwill.
Just give us some beer. And we'll call it
Mullins,
even.
Ruby, I'm coming after you. You guys owe me.
What's the best way to make it through a long work week? Take a midweek break and join the fun every Wednesday night at Alley's Ale House in Fishers for Nico's Open Stage. Want to share your talent in front of a live audience? Whether it's breaking in some new material or jamming out to some favorites, Nico's Open Stage is the place to go for it. There's never a cover charge, and walk-ins are always welcome. Each week brings a featured artist and drink specials from Jack Daniels. Check out Nico's Open Stage on Facebook for more details. And come join the fun every Wednesday night at Alley's Ale House, home of the boys of Blind Pig Confessions.
Do you guys have favorite niches as far as your own, like as far as beer or brewing beer? Do you like, do you have a stout favorite, or do you like doing IPAs? Do you have that kind of a niche, or
As far as brewing?
yourself? Do you have I love doing stouts, or I love doing IPAs?
My favorite beer to brew is one that comes in at its target gravity, at its target volume. The spars, the lauter goes nice and smoothly, ferments well.
Since I've been home brewing, since I've been really drinking, again, I started with Alpha King. And so just getting that taste appreciation for something that's bitter and hoppy, you keep going, right? It's this linear progression of how much can I take, what do I like, kind of. So I always really like drinking juicy, hoppy beers, pales, IPAs. I don't care about the bitterness. I just want the hops to shine. However, from a design standpoint, I enjoy, and I think it might show here, you might agree, I enjoy designing malty beers more than hoppy beers. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy, we had a really nice East Brown and Down brown ale. That was, I say it's fun to design. I'm sitting at a computer and punching in things on my spreadsheets.
Yeah, there you go.
Looking at it as kind of a paint by colors kind of thing. Is well, if I have these in there and these hops and we're doing this kind of thing, oh man, I can taste what that's going to be. There's less variable when you're not really incorporating a bunch of hops. So my favorite thing to brew would be rich malty beers, opposed to what I like to drink, which is normally hoppy, bitter beers.
Yeah, all my favorite beers, I really love Jelly Pumpkins, Bambier, Saison DuPont. I like super dry. So I remember, actually, my first...
You're a wine drinker too, right?
Yeah, like nice dry reds.
Yeah.
I always get Easley's Cab Sauv whenever I'm over there. I do like the Traminette, though, too. I think, and those beers are so simple, and that's what really I love is, it could just be all Pilsen malt. And just the yeast does its thing. It really shines through and dries it out. And I think that's something cool on your note, Sean, of you design these beers such a way you can almost taste it as you're designing it, and then actually see it turn out how it was in your mind. So that East Brown was very good.
East Brown was good.
Yeah.
We missed that beer. We all missed that beer. It was really good.
I like it. I like the fact that they can picture in their mind and already taste it. They've been doing it long enough and they know the components.
I think it's somebody.
If you looked at the ingredients we put together for our beers, I couldn't tell you I couldn't imagine what it's going to taste like at the end of it.
I write all the recipes right now, so.
But I can't.
And they just say, "What do we need?"
I can't imagine that combination other than he says it's we'll get to our orange saison. Okay, imagine there's going to be an orange taste in it. I can imagine that. Yeah,
right. Imagine it's clean, it's carbonated. There's a lot of
good there.
Taste it all
Tastes like beer.
That's kind of like somebody composing music, where it's a little bit different now. With band and rock and roll, where they're getting together and doing stuff on the fly, but where they used to compose music, where they're hearing what they're putting on paper even before they ever played a note. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
One of the most impressive things, growing up in this industry, working with Chris Johnson there, Peoples. We wanted to do this pale ale. We got this German floor malt in, and he was just ecstatic about it. It was like, I was rookie. I'm in there. You tell me what you need, I'll mash it. I'll do whatever you need. I can run the equipment. Show me your wisdom, Chris. And he just took a little pinch of grain and threw it in his mouth, and he chewed on it. It was like the longest, it's probably only 5 seconds, right? But I was just staring at him. What are you doing? This is so amazing. And he just chewed on it for a little while, spit out some of the husk, and goes, yeah, we need to cut that by 15%. He was very specific. We need to cut that by 15%. And I was like, damn. I'm working with a wizard. This is going to be great. And we brewed it. It was this Trent Pale Ale, this English Pale Ale. And he was exactly right. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows if we had the 100% in there versus the 85 that we ended up putting in there.
This needs to go down by 13.94%.
Yeah, he's like, no, this is a hair over too much. And I remember going home and telling, she was then my girlfriend. Damn, it's been a while. Now she's my wife with my kid at home.
Excellent.
But I remember telling her, I was like, you would not believe
What he just did.
what Chris did. He chewed on a little bit of grain. He totally changed the recipe last minute. You know, it's one of those things where like I need to go to bed. I can get up and brew it at like 4 a.m. or whatever. I'm going with it. We'll see what he does. And it was from that time. Once that beer was finished, it did very well. Actually, I think that beer, the Trent, got a gold at the Brewers Cup that year. We brewed it, and so you got to take that at face value. He's doing a good job.
Gotta give that up.
And I just remember every day I was just like, I'm going to be like Johnson one of these days. And now, talking with Easy and Lewis, a lot of times we don't even we look at recipes and we go, okay, well, put a little bit of this and whatever. But it comes out, and it's a lot of experience between the three of us working on some of these recipes.
Next week, Easy's going to go, no, we need to cut that.
I remember 2 pounds out. We're out. 2 pounds.
I remember just even one of my first days I worked here, I came home to my wife and I was like, I cleaned hundreds of kegs. She's like, cool. It was like the greatest day of my life.
Come join the boys of Blind Pig Confessions as they rest their hoofs at the new Fisher's location of the Stack Pickle on August 16th. If you haven't been here yet, come join the pigs as they record live and find out about all the pickle has to offer. Joining the pigs and the fine folks of the Stack Pickle for this event will be the Bullet Bourbon Rep to give insight on one of our favorite Kentucky bourbons, as well as free samples for the crowd. So take a break from your typical mundane Tuesday night and join the boys of Blind Pig Confessions for a special evening at the Stack Pickle on August 16th. Coming to the Black Lake Conference Center in beautiful northern Michigan the weekend of August 12th, the boys of Blind Pig Confessions. Golf, fine dining, camping, comfortable, affordable lodging, craft beer, and camaraderie are just a few of the things you'll find on this 1,000 acres of wooded wonderland. And the pigs are determined to explore them all. Go to the event page on Facebook to learn more details as they're released on this upcoming weekend and how you can be part of the festivities. A few local celebs will be joining the boys for shows over the weekend, so you won't want to miss out on any of the action. Come for the shows or stay for the weekend. But be sure to stop by and have a drink with the pigs.
So you guys are over there sipping our beer, so you guys want to tell us about it real quick? What do you think?
This is our orange saison.
Yep, orange saison.
Orange honey.
Orange honey saison.
Okay.
There we go.
That's
Honey in the boil.
Yes.
Yep.
Honey, 15 minutes to boil?
I thought we were at
Hold on.
third.
We brought the book.
We did bring his
We got the book.
He hasn't switched to Excel yet.
Excel's where it's at, I tell you.
30 minutes boil.
30 minutes in the boil.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay.
I like it. I like the citrus that comes from there. I get the Saison. What? DuPont?
The yeast is
Like French Saison?
Dan Star Bell.
Ooh, Danstar. Dry, it's hard to tell with that one.
Yes.
But, so you had previously, we were talking about this before the show, and you said it was a little dark. Mm-hmm. So I can see that as a honey scorch in there from a 30-minute, kind of standpoint.
Okay.
Now, we put a lot of extra sugars into our boil early, but we have a big steam kettle, so we don't get nearly the scorch. But I think it's nice. I get the citrus from the orange. I don't get a huge Saison yeast character, but it is clean. It tastes very nice. I like the orange.
We recommend a change to the honey down at
yeast?
15 or in a change to the yeast? Or
At that point, when you're adding sugars like that, simple sugars, you don't need to convert those sugars. You don't need to condense those sugars. You just need to dissolve those sugars.
Flame out would probably work.
Flame out might work. 5 minutes might work. Something to keep it up off the flame.
Okay.
You guys are probably dealing with like a flat bottom clad
standard
thing.
kettle, yeah.
Is it a multi-burner or is it like a jet burner, one in the center?
It's got 3 arms coming out with little flames. So it's a kettle burner from
It's made from Brickman.
It's a Blickman?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we use one of those. So if you're using that they got a lot of it's a multi-jets.
It's an even distribution.
So that's an even heat, but that we work on kegels back here, so you got that little small spot, and then on my old, actually it's still back there. It's not even old, but it's like the jet burner that hits that one point. You get a lot of caramelization, and so a lot of times that honey, depending on the ratio that you're using, is going to fall down. So your goal at that point, I think, would be to just dissolve the honey. It's going to ferment. You don't got to do anything to it.
Pre-dissolve into some like water before.
You can do that too. You know, just to make sure it's not going to just fall straight to the bottom.
Yeah, use some of the sparge water, pre-dissolve it, and then that kind of like pitching the yeast before, or putting the yeast in some. Or was that for something else we did?
No, the yeast would make sense. That would make sense.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
I think changing up that honey just a little bit would make a huge difference in this beer. I think
I think
that's like the one thing I'm getting is just that kind of weirdish honey flavor, and I think that will, if you're using dry yeast, just get your starter going. So for the orange, was that just in the boil also? Just orange peel?
No, it wasn't orange peel. We did 5 oranges peeled and cut, and then we did 1 orange peel, and then we added those actually in the mash. We mashed them.
Okay.
And then we took 6 more oranges and squeezed the juice into the boil at flame out.
Okay. I would say you probably didn't need the mash. You probably didn't get a whole lot from the mash. Just the way that process is going to work. You might have got a little bit. There's a lot of orange in there. I like it. And I like the citrus that's coming in there. But I think most of that is probably coming from the juice
that we put in after.
In there after. I think typically it's a good rule of thumb working with fruit. You can put zest in the boil. Zest is something that's going to really need to be pasteurized. It needs to be in the boil. It needs to be in there. A good rule of thumb with fruit kind of across the board is secondary. Because the yeast and its activity on the sugars that those fruits are presenting is going to drastically change what you would expect. Right now, if you're adding in all that citrus, you're going to change the pH of your wort. So you're going to change the performance of that yeast. Now, I think it was very nice. It seems like it attenuated fairly well for having all that honey in there. You know, it doesn't taste overly sweet. But perhaps if the citrus was added after the fact, you might have a higher pH to really benefit that yeast really racking, going crazy.
Just add the juice after when we transfer to secondary. And let it sit there for the
pasteurize it. What we tend to do a lot here, we do a lot of post-firm projects.
Okay.
And so what we'll do is we will, pasteurize or heat sanitize, say, the orange zest. And we've got a little tea kettle in the back, so we'll get that up to a sterilization temp. We'll put whatever we're putting in there, coffee beans, coconut, whatever we're putting in there, orange zest. Get it nice and hot, and put it in there after the fact. So now you're off the yeast. So it's kind of not necessarily secondary. For you guys and for any homebrewers listening, I hate secondary fermentation. It's the biggest joke going on in fermentation in homebrewing. But you say you rack it into a corny keg. All right, you sterilize this stuff. You open up your lid, you throw it in there, you let it sit for a while. Then you can taste it and see when have you hit your point. We do a lot of work with cocoa nibs and coffee, and so we're able to. We do the same sterilization thing, but we pull off a little bit and go, where's it at? Oh, it needs and it's ridiculous. Between him and Lewis, between Easy and Lewis, they're like, it needs another 36 hours. And they're exactly right every time. This is the biggest crazy
a lot of
thing.
Trial and error.
We need another 14 hours on this thing.
Okay.
All right, let's put it on the schedule. 14 hours from now, let's get it in. But that keeps the yeast from, affecting these flavors you're going to put in there before fermentation. I love the orange. I would say you might get more in a post-firm situation. I don't think you need it in the mash. However, a lot of times we do things that we just we put in the mash because screw it.
Yeah.
We put it in the mash. We do that all the time.
Tomatillos.
Little tomatillas. Yeah, exactly. We did tomatillas in the mash.
Donuts.
And it didn't taste at all like tomatillos, but they're in there. And it's on the description. They're in there. And then, I think definitely when you go straight juice at something like Flame Out, something where the pH can't correct itself and you don't have any time to correct the pH, it worked out well. But I think maybe if the pH wasn't lowered by adding the volume. Now, is this a 5-gallon, 10-gallon?
5 gallon.
This is 5 gallon. Yeah.
5 gallon? Yeah. And then you did the juice of 6 oranges? Yeah, that's going to drop your pH. Definitely. almost like a sour kind of situation. But I think if you put it in after the fact, your pH is going to be higher, so your yeast is going to be operating at optimum pH. Because, like I said, I don't get a lot of saison character, and that just it appears to have attenuated well. The yeast did what it needed to do. It didn't, but it did what it needed to do.
Yeah.
It didn't.
It's like an orange beer.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think very clean. You said this is number 4.
That was number 2.
Number 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was our second. That's our number 1.
Yeah.
Was in our next bottle. But
We'll do that one now. But good.
Let's do it.
I want to make sure we try
It's
some.
we're on the right path. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
I want that
Easy
shitty
brought,
blonde over there.
Yeah.
Shitty blonde.
It does. The bottle says CH
Yeah, I should have asked my wife how to pronounce it.
apostrophe TI. CH apostrophe TI. So it just sounds chitty.
Love that.
I just
sounds
saw Beer
shitty
de
to me.
Gar and blonde.
Beer de Gar blonde. Oh, good lord.
It's carbonated.
I don't even want
It's cool. We've been there. We've all been there. It's totally
So
fine.
it wasn't a fluke on the one I had like 2 weeks ago.
Holy crap.
Totally fine.
Well, no, it's wow. The 3/4 of that bottle is now
So
foam
I'll tell you
right off
from
the bat.
experience.
This might be a little too carbonated.
Flat 12 has definitely been there. But we fixed it. And so
I thought
maybe
somebody-
with a little help, we can help you fix
I thought
this.
somebody
It's so
just
weird.
shook up my beer like 2 weeks ago, and when they handed it to me as a joke, and I opened it up because it just sat there like foaming out like a high school, like a junior high science volcano.
And we know it wasn't shook up
you were gonna
because
say
literally it's
something
been sitting on this
What?
table now for
Yes.
a good 20 minutes to a half hour. So
Wow.
sorry about that, guys.
Did he just use a shirt?
I'm guessing this isn't the first time you've had beer on your floor, though.
No, not
But
at all.
it's all over. How much did it
No.
get on you?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Well, that's the thing. When
I
you-
have Jedi reflexes you would not believe.
Well,
I
that-
can hear an overcarved bottle from a mile away.
Can I get a good deal on that mechanic shirt now?
Yeah. Yeah, we got a couple extra. Come up. Well,
All
I'm
right,
sorry.
so, no.
But it looks
all right.
like we're going to drink a majority of this
No,
beer.
go for
That's
it. We
okay.
have plenty at
Right,
home.
yeah.
We have plenty.
It's got some. We think it has some issues, but we're also very
Oh, yeah.
critical of ourselves.
Well,
so
it has a carbonation issue.
well, we established that right off the bat.
We kind of, again, before the show, kind of talking about the Saison. I expected the Saison to blow. When you guys
Yeah.
said it was kind of fresh
Yeah,
and maybe a
right,
week
yeah.
old and, whatever. That was very well carved.
Smells great.
So I want to just immediately take this opportunity. I don't have a lot of opportunities to discuss this with the masses, right? But a couple years ago, I think there's no hiding it. Flat 12 had a big issue with bottles being overcarved. So the same thing that we just got there, with a bottle kind of overgoing and whatnot, and we dealt with that, but not on a 5-gallon batch. I would have loved to have that experience on a
Only
5-gallon
5
batch,
gallons.
but instead, it was a major defect we had in our production side of things, where we found that. I remember this was Christmas a couple years ago. Went with my wife and her family to Mexico, and I think it was one of those vacations where I took like 2 pair of underwear, a pair of board shorts, a couple shirts, and like 10 books. And that's all I did was sit on the beach drinking Sol. I love Sol. I'll give a nice shout out to Sol. I think it's a great Mexican lager. But, just really taking everything that we did as a process and breaking it down to square one. And I told the guys when I left, I said, when I come back, we're going to fix this. We can definitely do this. People have been putting beer in bottle forever. People have been making beer for millennia. It's not like we're trying to recreate anything. It's not like we are trying to learn things that people don't know. I love craft brewing. I think that you guys touch on the camaraderie. I think that's a beautiful part of it. But it's a consistent science. We're at the point where we brew so much. we're at a point now where we can call these things laws. This is how you brew beer. And so I knew at some point there was some mistake that we were making. Take full accountability for this, but what we ended up realizing was that we were not allowing the beers to fully ferment. And so I don't know if this was a situation on this beer, but what you find in a homebrewing situation and what we as kind of Flat 12 really started with, and what I think a lot of homebrewers or pro brewers start with, is a homebrewing background. And starting with homebrewing, you have the ability to say, well, I'm going to put this in the fridge and I'm going to stop fermentation. Now, you would not believe the cooling power that we have here and the control, the exacting control that we have over fermentation. And so it ended up being a very theoretical movement on how we handled fermentation. When I really started looking at things, I said, this has got to be it. We took it down to how we mill the grain. I remember coming back in out of this vacation and talking with Easy and talking with Lewis and saying, we're doing everything we need to be doing right. The only thing that I could possibly see is we are not handling fermentation correctly. We need to let this thing go terminal. We need the yeast to be done. We can pretend like we work in an exacting science. Because sometimes we start talking, we talk to you guys, and we're like, oh, yeah, well, we got, this attenuation rate, and we got this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And it feels like it's a very significant science. And it is. But at the end of the day, this is very old school. Okay? Imagine people making beers even 100 years ago. What do they know about what they're doing? At the end of the day, what we can look at, and I know you guys are homebrewing, so you can look at your airlocks. Our airlocks are hoses dropped into buckets of iodine. But they do the same thing. And what that beer is doing is that beer is talking to us. And so when we start looking at how we design things, Easy kind of developing things on kind of almost a sentence structure type thing, and I like taking a engineering stance to it, and Lewis, God bless him, just likes throwing things to the wind and seeing what works out. At the end of the day, the yeast is telling us what they're doing. We don't make beer. We take a lot of pride in the things that we are able to do, but we do not make beer. We got a bucket sitting on the brew deck called the Brewer's Throne, and we just sit there. And we make sure that certain temperatures are met and certain consistencies are met, and then we know it's going to happen.
And certain valves are closed, too.
And certain valves are closed. It's been an important learning curve for some of our guys here lately. Burger.
Shout out.
I think we had a couple of those problems.
But, when you get into the fermenter, that bucket is telling you, I'm fermenting. And what we were doing prior to the way we handle things now was not allowing that beer to ferment. It was I'm fermenting. We just turn the cold on and go, nah.
You're done.
You're done.
No, you're not.
Screw you. You're done. Now, ultimately, that beer and that yeast, regardless of how much we were filtering it, that yeast would get into the bottle, and some of these things would continue downstream. And once it warms up, we work with some really high-class distributors, working with Monarch Distribution here locally. You cannot help it but put it on a warm truck every once in a while. And so even then, or you go to liquor stores or grocery. One of our biggest purchasers is grocery. And those grocery stores cannot sell cold alcohol. So it's sitting there warm. You get this yeast continue to go. Sure as hell, you got yeast and you got unfermented sugar. What's going to happen? And so I would take this moment in the podcast, definitely along with Easy, and say, it's been a long time since we fixed it, but it's definitely fixed. But the issue that you guys experienced here is virtually identical to what we were seeing beforehand. However, you gave me one bottle, and I'm, it's good. The beer tastes good. It's not.
Yeah, that's a sad day. Oh.
So when
It's
you're
a rough one.
when you're drinking this one, do you find problems with it? Though we found problems with it ourselves. So I'm just curious if you see the same problem we see.
Kind of again, going back to what we experienced here. For those of you not watching at home, there's a little bit of gush
everywhere.
of CO2 coming out. It does taste a little sweet to me, and it's got like a thicker taste, but it's not a thick as in dextrinous. It's not like a high mash temp. To me, this tastes sweet and thick as an unfermented beer.
We think the hop's wrong too. We think the hop adds a little bit too much of a strange bitterness to it.
Like a black IPA.
So this was.
I don't mind the hop.
Breakfast.
I think the balance is pretty good.
Yeah. So what was in this stout? I remember like
Coffee, oatmeal, chocolate,
Cocoa nibs.
and coffee, chocolate, oatmeal, milk, lactose.
When did you put the chocolate in?
Let us refer to the book, please.
Refer to.
1 second.
Because it sounds like when you say chocolate, we
go
would
to the-
normally say
I should say
It's
cocoa
nibs.
Cocoa
It
nibs.
was nibs.
Yeah,
All
it was
right.
nibs. Yes. Now we had Hershey's.
Yeah,
and we
we
just
grabbed
drizzled that shit everywhere.
You would not be.
This is our
surprised.
s'mores.
4 ounces of cocoa nibs, 15 minutes into the boil.
Ooh, another one. I would recommend Post Firm.
Okay.
So the sweet stuff post firm.
Anything not fermentable, I would recommend Post Firm.
But the orange would be fermentable, correct?
Oh, don't call it now. You just called him out.
No, I'm not calling them out. It's a serious
No,
question.
I was joking. Yeah.
Yeah, some of the orange juice and the sweetness might be fermentable, but I would say the percentage of fermentables you're trying to get out of there. I mean, if fermentables were in your your recipe, then that's something you need to kind of adjust more on that pH level.
Okay. So what you're saying is if it wasn't meant to be fermented, it was meant for flavor, it should go in secondary.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
go.
Now, yep, that's what I was trying to...
That helps.
Yep.
So if you are using Hershey chocolate, and I know a lot of people that make good beers with Hershey chocolate, and they're making Kiss beers and this and that.
No.
You know, that chocolate needs to go into the boil. It needs to be dissolved. It needs to be sterilized for yeast consumption. But if you're using cocoa nibs, I would recommend at that point. Now you're not trying to infuse it, right? Now you're trying to make pretty much a tincture. Right, so now you can use the alcohol that you've already had established. You can use that. It's the same thing as dry hopping. You can use that to strip the flavor that you're looking for. The same way people would put nibs in vodka, right, and call this dessert vodka or whatever.
The
Day
coffee,
drinkers. Those
Wasting vodka.
the coffee,
Ruining perfectly good distilled clear vodka.
the coffee on this one was added 10 minutes left in the boil.
same thing there. Now.
See, we've heard this.
I know a lot of coffee snobs, and I love them. And a lot of them. Sandy Cockerman, she's one of the best beer judges in the state. She's a lady I really respect, and she's a very significant part of B Java. So I know she's listening. Sandy, I'm sorry. I'm going to do my best. But what I would say is same thing when you're making coffee. You don't boil coffee. Your ideal temperature for coffee is 180. So at that point, or less than 180, maybe it's like 160.
Less than that, I think, yeah, 160.
We cold brewed
180.
the coffee for 28 hours, and then we added it 10 minutes before the boil.
See, now that might make a difference.
Because that way it wouldn't pull the tannins out of the coffee with the high
tannins is what you look
temperatures.
for. The high, yep, exactly.
And then that way we already had the cold brew coffee. Now, since it's already brewed, it should not have bittered it or done anything to it, put it in the boil. That was my personal theory on it.
That is a great aspect. And that totally works because I don't get a tannic bitterness from the coffee in this
Right.
at all. But what I would recommend, what you did, is not at all what most homebrewers would do. They'd be like, "Well, I took a quarter cup of Folgers, I threw it in a tan." That's not going to work. But in the same way we treat the nibs, we do a crush or a coarse crush on the coffee. We will pasteurize it, still at 180. We'll leave that liquid behind, which is going to hold some of those harsh tannins. But still being coarse crush, we'll put it in like a muslin bag and throw it in a post-firm situation.
Back to the grounds, not.
So we could still cold brew it and dump it in the secondary if we wanted.
Yeah, I think it'd be fine. I think what you're doing there with the cold brew is doing what you don't want to throw grounds in there at boiling, and you don't want to throw in the quarter cup of Folgers. This, I do not get at all a tannic
No, you get
flavor from the coffee. I don't get over bitterness.
Everything's very well rounded from all the other stuff going into it.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
So, also,
This is good.
Yeah, especially
This is
with
really
throwing the coffee in the nibs, in secondary too. You can just see how the beer is for it.
Right.
It's true.
And that's
that
what
way
we
it
said
makes
is we
sense.
wanted
That's
to slowly change, not like do all these changes at one time, but this time we're going to change this part, see how it affects it until we finally start making all those changes to where we get it to where we really want it. And you guys are saying you like the hop in there. We had a couple people that said they thought we should change from Columbus hop to
But
something else.
But I don't get anything more than, say, like
East Kent Golding.
a 30 IBU beer on this. I
Oh,
get a
okay.
very well-balanced, rounded beer. I don't get any bitterness,
But if
Okay.
it's,
odd
if-
bitterness from a hop.
But if it also has still been fermenting, the when we opened up this
Yeah,
beer
I'm-
for some of the other guys earlier, that was like 4 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
I'm wondering how
Yeah.
different that
and they
is.
didn't explode
It
4
did.
weeks ago.
okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you from the beer we tasted, let's say 2 weeks ago now. That bitterness was definitely more prevalent 2 weeks ago than it is today.
Oh, okay.
So again, but I think that goes back to why we exploded all over the
Right.
place.
Sure. Makes sense, yeah.
Maybe some of that kind of that fermenting that was still going on took some of that bitterness away too.
sure.
So
Yeah, I think your bitterness balance there is very nice. What's
Okay.
this? 6.5.
roughly.
6.2, I think.
6.2.
6.2, yeah.
So I mean, if I would say, I don't know if you know your IBUs, but if it's 50 to 65,
There's no way for homebrewers to measure IBUs.
that's
I don't
bullshit.
know.
That's bullshit.
Oh,
See?
Bring it.
Teach us something.
Well, not measure.
Estimate.
I will say IBUs as a whole is antiquated, and the measure as
I've
a
heard that.
whole as itself
I've
is
heard that.
I've
bullshit.
heard that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
But that being said, there are these consistent levels of measure. So, without a plug, I'm assuming I can plug people.
Absolutely,
Plug,
yes.
plug away.
BrewPal. I don't know. I guess it's not an Android app because
No, it's
50% of my staff use Android and they don't
Beersmith.
have BeerPal.
And see, that's what
We do
use.
use
We use
Beersmith.
Beersmith. That's the one we use.
We use Beersmith as a company, but even on Beersmith, you have a calculator, and that calculator is going to take in effect your OG, your FG. It takes a lot of things into effect, things that you can plug in on a spreadsheet. Or you just plug it into this thing, and so you should be able to know, and your guesstimate as to IBU is going to be as close as a professional brewer across the board. Now, you got an outfit like Schlafly. We used to send samples to them to taste or to sample our IBU levels on our beers, just so we made sure that our process and our recipes were working correctly. And for the most part, they're pretty close to what you would expect, what we would expect. BrewPal is genius. It is a beautiful tool, and it's something that I've used my entire length of brewing at this level, both on homebrew and commercial brewing. So for the past 8 years, used it without. I got it for free. I think it's $1.99 right now.
It is $1.99.
It's $1.99. I got it for free because it's beta. And I kept telling him, I was like, hey,
Let me tell you how to make this
it's
work.
right there, man. You were right on the money. Everything that you're telling me is
Needs
working.
more spreadsheets.
Brewer's Friend is what I use.
Yeah, you need to put this on a spreadsheet.
Brewer's Friend is what I used at first, but it was like a trial, and I
But you're
wasn't
an
crazy
Android.
about it. Yeah, I'm Android.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a total ripoff of BrewPal, but you should trust it.
Okay.
Because it's a ripoff of the BrewPal, right?
Right, gotcha.
Brew Buddy. That's the Canadian version.
So I'm probably going to buy it just so I have something, don't have to write, because some people are assholes and they make fun of me for writing recipes down. But
Hey, I can make you an Excel sheet.
He's still
There's
using
nothing more in the world than I appreciate a long form recipe when you're talking about BUs and GUs and all these alphas put in there. We do these 12-gallon beers with some people. Oh my God, that is a beautiful.
I'm okay
So
with
you're totally
pencil
working
and-
it. Oh, we got this OGs, we need to balance
Yeah,
it with these. I've been there,
it's all
man. I've
in
been
there.
there a long time ago,
See
and it
that?
sucked.
I got
You got
no
the
problem.
abacus out.
Yeah, he's just using pencil and paper. But I would figure after you're done with playing around with that, we transfer it over to
once we have
spreadsheet.
a set recipe that's really good and I don't have to erase and do a lot of measurements again, I will transfer it to an app, and then it stays there permanently, so it's saved.
I'll tell you when I use BrewPal. I use BrewPal every day. Sometimes I use BrewPal 3 or 4 times a day at work, and I use it when I'm taking a dump.
Absolutely.
And it's
I mean-
exactly what I do when I'm taking a dump. Is I just make beer recipes.
That's kind of what all
Browns
apps
mostly.
are for, right?
mostly browns.
Do you find yourself going to stouts more often when you're shitting?
Earlier in the morning, I'm like a coffee stout guy.
There you go. Exactly. I mean, you drink
what's
coffee.
on your mind.
But yeah, later in the evening, I get into browns.
Well, it's not a brown, but I know Easy. We were talking about our Easy brought us something all the way from France.
Yeah.
We got a nice French beer to try.
Patrick
It's
is
a beer
really
to guard,
excited about
too.
this.
I am.
I can see. No, I can tell.
I want to
You
taste.
are-
I want to
know
taste the
you do.
shitty blonde.
I
mean,
know. Yes, he does.
Yeah, so this is from some brewery in northeastern France, I believe.
beer to guard.
Yes, and it's a blonde. So this brewery specifically just makes beer to gars in different colors. So my wife picked up 7 different beers. I got a couple of these, some triples. I got a really nice IPA I cracked open the other day.
Yeah.
Got a stout.
Nice.
So I was up in Iceland a few weeks ago, and
Nice.
it was very Iceland up there.
Really?
I was hanging out. I spent a lot of time at a brew pub, and ended up talking with the brewer there and showed us around. And he had an amazing double IPA that tasted like an IPA from any brewery here in the States. Still had Citra and Amarillo and Simcoe hops and grapefruit zest, and it's just so curious now to be an adult and to see and to try beers from across the world.
You said Iceland, right?
Yes.
You just like to be casually. I was in Iceland at a brew pub the other day. I've been trying to get there for like 3 years.
My brother-in-law is getting his master's in Viking studies up there, as one does.
as one does.
So, yeah, it was a really cool time just
Have a master's
drinking
in
beers.
Viking
Did they call it an
studies.
American IPA?
No, they just called it a double IPA.
Those assholes.
Yeah.
I think we're the only ones that do that. We only call our own.
Yeah. They just had, I guess it was sort of like a Pilsner. They just called it a lager, and it was amazing. It was just a beautifully well done, simple beer.
They call anything Icelandic.
They did. Well, it wasn't from that brew pub. There's another brewery. It's a little larger, probably around like Sun King size. They had their Nordic Saison, which was really good. And there were some Icelandic named beers, but I cannot pronounce any of them.
Sure.
It's just a lot of consonants.
Yeah, a lot of K's and Y's.
But there was a really cheap beer that we took with us when we walked up 2 miles through mountains up to a hot river. It was called Polar Beer.
Polar beer.
Nice.
And it's just these big, tall red cans with the polar bear on it. And apparently it had originally been brewed in the 40s while troops had been stationed up there during the war. And it kind of carried through because beer prohibition wasn't over up there until 89, I want to believe.
Oh. Really?
Damn.
But
That's horrible.
you can
That is horrible.
You can have your own spirits and stuff up there. We had a really good whiskey, Icelandic whiskey, and the distillery made an amazing gin. But they also had this really nice whiskey that was smoked, and it was smoked over sheep shit.
Nice.
Yeah, it was not bad.
Well, it wasn't too shitty.
Yeah, sorry.
Very bad.
You know, with this beer,
It's over now. We can move on.
I drink a lot of Mexican beers because a lot of them are kind of extinct German styles, and they incorporate flavors that you don't get here in North America. You can definitely import them, but definitely importing and the whole Germans and how they package things. You know, by the time it gets over here, you don't get the same quality. This beer is packed full of my favorite beer character that you just unfortunately don't get in the States with the malt that we have and the process that we have. This is very malty, rich melanoidins. This is
You're making
this
that
is
up.
really good.
See, that's my least favorite
Quit making up
flavor.
words.
You don't like it?
I hate
I
melanoids
love
so
it,
much.
man. It's like bread. It's like
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
it's like crust. It's not even like bread. It's like the crust.
See,
man.
like,
It's
and I
so
love
good.
crust and I love bread. But
Not in your beer?
no.
Not the taste in your beer? Yeah,
But I
like it a lot. It's
so
it's
rich.
really good. Was it a 6.4%
Yeah.
blonde? It's
And it looks like
it's not chitty.
no.
Shitty at all.
No, I
shitty.
said sweeter and maltier, so I put on my untapped review of it. So
There's no bit. I can't. There's nothing bitter on that at all.
Yeah, that. I mean, do you get what I'm saying when I say
Yeah.
crust almost?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a lot of times that you find that in a lot of German beers when they're doing multi-step mashes. So you get that in multi-step or step mash, and you get that more often than not in decoction, where they're pulling some of that off, boiling it, putting it back over, and really extracting a lot of those melanoidins. I don't know if you guys know Ron Smith. He's
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of a local legend. He's a very wise old sage. He wears a robe and walks in the woods here in Indy, just teaching brewers the ways of brewing.
Is that who that was?
He's so wise, and yeah, he comes to you. You don't find Ron; Ron finds you. Yeah, I remember when I was still going to Purdue. I just turned 21, working at the liquor store, trying to get in with Johnson, working at People's, and I took a BJCP class down here, and I got to learn from Ron. And I just day one, the class is at Payless, somewhere northeast part of town. And there's this loft, and I was like, hey, I'm here for the beer class. And they're like, oh, well, you want to go upstairs? Okay.
Creepy.
Yeah, all right. So I go up there, and there's this Ron sitting back in a chair with a bunch of beers I've never seen. At that point, you're 21, you're hot-headed. You're like, I drink all kinds of shit. I drink everything. Anything you ever had, I've had. You're just sitting there, and he's just like,
Alpha King.
German beers. It's like lesson one. You don't know shit. I talk with Ron all the time. He does a lot of good beer classes, and I have the opportunity of now judging alongside with him. Instead of taking the LSAT, it was on the same day I was supposed to take the LSAT. I took the BJCP exam with Ron. Right, so I know Ron very well, but he always had spoke so highly of German melanoidins, and it just drove it in my head. And the beers that he gave me, I never have had a chance to drink, but it's fresh that he had them somehow. Again, you don't ask him questions. Ron has what Ron has. But this is a flavor. I really enjoy this. This is very nice.
It's a super well done beer.
So this is French.
Yeah.
Okay, so there for a minute we got talking about Icelandic beers, and I was like, how did the German brewing heritage get over there? But yeah, this is
I
French.
drank all my Icelandic beers already.
Yeah, this is yummy.
So tell us a little bit more about Flat 12. What's going on? What's new? What's coming up? All that kind of stuff.
Ooh. All right. Well, here at Flat 12, we've got our 4 house beers. We've got our Upside Down Blonde. We've got our Half Cycle IPA. We've got our Pogues Run Porter. And we've got our Walkabout Pale Ale. Okay. And it's kind of the same thing. I hate to diminish it, but it's the same kind of thing you see from every brewery. You get your hoppy beer, you get your light beer, you get your dark beer, and then we just throw in the other hoppy beer because screw you kind of thing. You get your hoppy beer. And then over the course of the year, we have several seasonals. We just got done with our Hingetown Hammer Down, our Pilsner that we do for race season. James is doing very well this year, getting set the pole, so we did very well with that beer. We're actually on the cusp of running out of our Cucumber Kolsch already.
Dang.
Our summer beer, that's almost done. And this morning, this morning,
keep that off the table.
I picked up our spices to do our flat jack, and so if you look behind you got the Jack 1 beer. So we're going to be brewing that next week. That'll be our fall seasonal we got coming out sometime in August, I think. But outside of that, we try to keep things very interesting. We got our Woodworks barrel age program. So again, I kind of mentioned our sour barrels we have behind you. Kind of falls into that Woodworks program. Our head brewer.
You're souring. I see your cucumber Kolsch up there in a barrel.
Baby.
You're souring
pickle
your
barrel.
cucumber.
That's going to be the pickle barrel. You sour it, you get pickle.
You need to call me when that.
Oh, wow.
I got to try. I want to try.
You missed it this year.
Hopefully, on the way out,
next year.
we'll be able to. I want to try the cucumber because the cucumber ones are
Oh, dude.
really.
This beer's so good.
Yeah, but it's so hard to get it right. The others I've had before, they've been horrible. They've just really been awful. We've tried a couple.
It's a good one.
So, well, yeah, I do want to try it because I like trying some of those.
The pickle barrel. Yeah. I think we might.
When's that?
I don't know how many we have. We had a super secret stash where we did a few, but as always with the super secret stash, we ended up drinking them pretty quickly.
It's okay. Yeah.
We think we're gonna hold on to them forever.
Speaking of the Woodworks, Christmas in July is coming up.
Christmas in July.
What is that one?
Tell me about this.
Tell us about that.
Christmas in July. It's our release of our Pinko Russian Imperial Stout, and we'll have bottles of that available. We'll also have 4 barrel aged.
No. Ease.
Oh.
We won't have bottles of that available.
Oh.
For the first time.
That's right.
This is going to be a release here for you guys. This is exclusive.
Oh.
In the past, we have done 12-ounce bottles.
Okay.
Now, it is a 10.5% beer. 12-ounce bottle kind of works. You almost still have to share it with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We thought, oh, well, hell, let's just put it all in bombers. But at that point, you need to have an entire group over. Now, I like being social just as much as the next guy, but sometimes I like to drink beer by myself.
Absolutely.
Late at night by myself, open up a 22-ounce bomber of 10% beer, 11% beer. Never ends well.
No. Stay up too late watching Desperate Housewives or something.
Exactly. So this year, we are doing 8-ounce cans.
Oh, you're canning.
Oh, wow.
Good.
So we are selling our Pinko Russian Imperial Stout, 10.5%, in 6-pack, 8-ounce cans. So it's equivalent of buying 2 bombers.
Is that the one we had
But you don't
earlier?
have to share with anybody. You can be a curmudgeon and you can drink it by yourself. It's
The
fine.
Dark Corner
That's very
was
cool.
a variety of the Pinko.
Okay.
Yes.
That's because I remember you were saying
Yes.
it was a Pinko Russian Imperial. So you're
Yes,
just gonna have a
cans.
different
Sorry,
one.
I just got super
8-ounce
excited.
cans. I'm very excited. I've been working on this for a long time. I remember getting a Coke can. I was like, oh, yeah, 8-ounce Coke. That's great. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I have an idea.
Perfect. Great idea.
Perfect serving size.
I don't like to share my Cokes with my friends. I'll get a big beer. I can do. So, yes, we are going to be releasing that in 8-ounce cans. And then we do have...
Oh, yeah. So there are actual bottles of bombers, of the barrel-aged varieties. So there's 4. There is Bonus Cup, which is rum barrel-aged Pinko with coffee from Tinker Coffee on 16. There is Death Bear, which is whiskey barrel-aged, which is very good. And there is the Vien Hours. I don't know if my French is right, but that's the wine bear, red wine barrel-aged Pinko.
Okay.
And then there is Solid Bold, which is rum barrel-aged with bourbon-soaked vanilla beans.
Oh.
I like the rum ones. The whiskey ones are usually... I have a hard time with the whiskey ones usually.
4 Roses whiskey barrel, dripping wet. Trust me.
Okay.
The They're all great. We're actually getting into putting them into bottles.
Yeah, it's been a lot of. I tell you, it's been really tough having to do all these taste tests and carb checks and stuff.
Keep checking it. 14 more hours.
It's a rough job, man.
Quality control is the most taxing part of what
but it's
we
so
do.
important.
How long?
But we do it for you guys.
How long do you bear? How long
Thank
have they
you.
aged on an average? I mean,
You
guys have.
It really depends. Even Lewis will probably yell at me if I don't get this right, but
You don't have to give away
even
trade
for like
secrets or
the
anything.
rum barrel thing, it was probably 3 months maybe.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
For the bonus cup, I think the coffee was in the barrel on the beer for 5 days, and it was just this amazing. It was probably the best coffee flavors in beer I've ever had. It's super
Awesome.
cherry cordial,
Oh, nice.
Nice.
and it's like, well, I just gotta drink this now.
Darn it.
Is it carbonated? Oh, we'll see.
We'll see. Nope, still can't tell if it's carbonated yet. We'll try one more. Any other events coming up or things you're taking part in?
Huh?
Got any brew fests or
Shit, we got Brewfest.
Summerfest.
Summerfest?
We got Summerfest coming out in July. We're going to be a part of the inaugural Cumberland Cumberland Brewfest. I'll just go to Cumberland Brewfest. That's August 27th. I'm originally from Monticello, but lived in Lafayette for a very long time, so I consider myself a lay flatter. Right?
Yeah.
And they got the Beers Across the Wabash, which I remember helping Chris, their peoples again. I worked with that guy a lot. And Greg Emig, who runs Lafayette Brewing Company. They set up a beer fest that goes across the Wabash River, spanning Lafayette, West Lafayette. That's August 27th. So, Greg, normally we talk about brewers' timing, right? Which normally is a couple weeks after the fact. But he actually got a hold of me pretty early this time and he said, hey, you want to be a part of it? So, yeah, it's August 27th as well. So I'll be up there pouring. And this year they did a bunch of renovations on the bridge. We started having these events and they started questioning the integrity of the bridge. And so, luckily, they did some renovations. But for the past 2 years, it's been in a part of Lafayette called Reilly Plaza, just right there by the bridge. This year, out of a 2-year absence, I think this will be the 5th year. Damn. It's these kind of things. You start realizing, God dang, we've been doing
this a while, yeah.
But yeah, we'll be back on the bridge. So we got that coming up into August. Outside of that, we got a couple things here and there.
Yeah, it's summer. There's just things going on every weekend.
yeah.
So what are you doing not this Thursday, but next Thursday? That would be our brew day.
Gosh,
Come on.
Yeah, I don't know.
look at the calendar here.
I'm sure we got something.
We've got several calendars
no, you're
around
free.
here.
No, we're just
Well, I probably have. Who knows? Trivia.
If it ends
something.
in Y, we're busy. This is what that comes out.
We're actually brewing the stout you had.
We're
We're going to rebrew it with some of the corrections
Nice.
All right,
a week from Thursday. So.
less carbonation.
So we got our 4 that we kind of want to stick to, and now we're going to start going back through them and make those changes.
Nice.
Until we get them where we want them.
But now, when your kids need to make a volcano for science fair,
I'll just give them a beer to take to school. Exactly. Here you go.
stick that beer in the center, build some clay around it.
You know, I wish, and I tell my friends all the time, like, I wish home ec in, like, middle school, we had, like, a making beer component. Because I would have been professionally brewing at 19 and not 21. I had some
All those
advice.
wasted years, man.
Those wasted years. What was I doing? I worked at a great aquarium hobby shop. Worked at a liquor store, but other than that.
All right.
So, well, do you guys have anything else? We're going to have to wrap up the show here pretty soon. We got a little over an hour into it, so.
We're doing well.
Yeah, I think it was a great conversation. I really appreciate you
Yeah,
guys coming in to Flat12.
absolutely.
Hey, man, we appreciate you
We had a lot of fun.
You brought beers, so
We did. You gave us beers.
You're
We
good in
brought
our
you
book.
beers.
Yeah,
It's kind of an
that's all you
exchange,
need.
right?
It's a little bit of an exchange.
As long as you do that, but no, outside of that, come in, see Easy and I.
Absolutely.
Thank
Always
you for the.
Shoot, we'd like
We
to.
brew.
Yeah.
Thank you for the tips and the
Yeah.
education on a lot of stuff there.
Well, some
Lot
night
of
we
stuff.
got to do a blind pig flat 12 night and do
Well,
We'll set it up. We got
So
a
we gotta
12-gallon
do
collab.
that.
You guys take a
Yeah.
recipe that you're very happy with. You take
Yeah.
something that you order, and we'll work it out. We'll
Hell
do it
yeah.
on the
Let's do it.
12-gallon. We'll put it on tap here at
Bring some
the
ex-
facility. Bring in the crew, and maybe then we'll do a live thing with
Yeah,
people and see what they think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Bring some extra towels and a mop.
I like it.
I just laid forth about 5 weeks of logistics, so you guys know. So. Enjoy that. Yeah, I do.
Nice.
All right,
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for having us on.
Thank
No,
you.
yeah, thanks for
Party
being
on.
here, guys.
Thanks for passing around that shitty blonde.
Big party.
It's always good when you pass around a shitty blonde.
America, we're glad, although you made us sad for many, many long and weary years. With your war against the rum, we all got on the bum, but we're thankful that you gave us back the beer. What are we gonna do with that old home brew? We do not need it since we have the beer. We do not want the brew, although we know it's true. When days were dark, it was to us so dear. America, you see, prohibition could not be. You made your law against the rock and rye. Your law was on the line, all the spirits we could not find. The boys were drowning wet while you were dry. What are we gonna do with that old home brew? We do not need it since we have the beer. We do not want the brew, although we know it's true. When days were dark, it was to us so dear. America, you see, you gave us all a treat. We're glad we're living in your happy land. Here's drinking to your health, may your future all be wealth, with a glass of foam and beer in either hand. What are we gonna do with that old home brew? We do not need it since we have the beer. We do not want the brew, although we know it's true. When days are dark, it was to us so